following takes place between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Events occur in real time.
Good morning, everyone, except for Brandon Staley. Welcome to FBC Radio Live. That's right, it's Friday. We're live here, and I can't even help myself. I'm already tripping over my own words. I've been just fuming since the end of last night's game, because if I were a Chargers fan, John, I'd be upset because they gift wrapped and gave the Kansas City Chiefs the division last night. Last night was more about the Chargers and their head coach than it was about the Chiefs. And the Chargers, who have been, for decades, they just never quite get there. I feel bad. They've always had talent. No, they deserved so much to lose that game. They deserve to lose every single game moving forward, because they gift wrapped, again, the NFC or the AFC West to the Kansas City Chiefs last night because of some just horrendous coaching decisions. And John, I hope you're not pro analytics, because pro analytics is persona non grata here. If you're, I can't do it. I can't handle it, man. I can't handle it. It drives me absolutely nuts. If anyone's ever or has been listening to the show over the last several weeks, this is something I've been railing against. It seems like every day, because every week in the NFL, you get absurdly stupid. That's what it was. It was multiple stupid coaching decisions that directly led to a loss for your team. And to me, it's unacceptable. And it's if I'm a Chargers fan, I should be pissed. I shouldn't be proud that my coach is aggressive and that's the type of, no, you should be pissed because he literally cost you a game. He cost you a division and potentially cost you a spot in the playoffs, because now all of a sudden you're in that wild card mix where anything really goes over these next few weeks.
I don't think it's a binary choice, pro analytics, anti-analytics. There's times where I think that, and look, analytics, we can take that word and kind of put it aside. There's situations, 4th and 2, sure, go for it in certain situations, but not in every situation to the point you don't need a punter or a field goal kicker.
That's what he did yesterday.
That's what he did yesterday.
And that's what some of these pro analytics people want you to believe. Right. It's like, no matter what, go for it. So maybe look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm some sort of statistician or mathematician. And again, there's people out there that are a lot smarter than I am when it comes to that stuff. So maybe someone else can answer this question, because, analytics, you're basing decisions based on a collection of data. First of all, John, I want to ask the question. Now, maybe this doesn't make the difference, but was that collection of data collected based on coaches making decisions on analytics? Or was this collection of data collected based on coaches making coaching decisions? If that makes sense. Does that make sense? So
no, I know what you mean. Yeah,
exactly. The percentages favor certain plays based on coaches making coaching decisions in the situation, not blindly following analytics, which is what we saw last night. Look, first quarter, 4th and 5. You're not even talking about 4th and 1. You're talking about 4th and long in your very first drive of the game. Why are you going for it? Kick the effing field goal. Because I don't want to hear.
And it's 4th and goal.
Yeah,
it's 4th and goal too. So you don't have a lot of area there. 4th and 5 maybe is different from midfield, where you've got more, a territory that they're going to have to defend. I think that whole series got screwed up. They had the long kick return, then they had back-to-back runs which netted them 25 yards. It was 1st and goal at the 5.
Yeah,
you just had 2 very effective running plays. And Kansas City was kind of on its heels right away, because they weren't expecting to go playing, goal line defense right away, right? I mean, the long kickoff really set up the Chargers. So the Chiefs are like kind of on their heels right away. Run it. And all of a sudden you have Justin Herbert throw it 4 times. First of all, let's just eliminate, the fade in the end zone. There's only 2 quarterbacks in the league that know how to throw them, and you know who they are. It's Brady and Rodgers. Everybody else really struggles on those throws. So just eliminate that. That to me is like a long shot play. Just run the football and then kick the field goal, get up 3-0. It's in an old adage of you got to score touchdowns, not field goals, to beat Kansas City. This is a team that outside of playing against the Raiders.
Yeah, you quite literally can beat them.
You can win games with kicking field goals.
I got some numbers. I got some analytics for you, John. Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay, outside of those 2 games against the Raiders, their past 7 games, this is nearly half a season's worth. They're averaging 18.2 points per game. That is bad. I don't care how you slice it. I don't care what excuse you want to make. 18 points a game is bad. So when you sit there and tell me that, oh, you can't beat the Chiefs by kicking field goals, no, you quite literally can, and you quite literally would have yesterday had you kicked your field goals. Because again, not only the first quarter decision to recklessly go for it, but the one at the end of the half where you were gift wrapped, free points. You got the ball late, you got the ball downfield, and you could have gone into the half having 3 free points. But no, we're going to be aggressive because we believe in analytics. Well, no, you believe in playing mediocre football and stupid football because that's what it was. And I know the argument from analytics people. Oh, it's the right decision because the analytics said so. What? Like, that's the problem, John. It's not so much that analytics are useless. You can derive information from sets of numbers. If you blindly follow them, that's the problem. And on top of that, a lot of these really pro analytics guys, the PFF guys, the guys that work for these sites that have analytics in their profile, they're infallible. There's no way they are ever wrong. So if you make a decision that based on the analytics is the right one, well, that's it. There's no discourse. There's no conversation. There's no actual reaction to what happened. It is, oh, no, it is right because the analytics says it's right. Well, what? Is that self-confirmation? Is that what we're doing here? It's just circular logic. There's no discourse in it. So like I said, you can sit there and blindly follow it. But as we've said many times with many stats in football, it's impossible because you cannot account for every nuance. You cannot account for what's actually happening within the game. What the hell does the success rate of other teams and other games in previous weeks tell me about the situation at hand? Like I said, yesterday is the perfect example of that. Like, you kick the field goals. Not only, think about the confidence killer that is for your team to go down there and lose points. Not only are you basically just saying, we don't even care about our field goal kicker, whatever. You're literally, how deflating is that for a Chargers team who is out there really competing quite well and playing pretty good football, just giving away points. And then ultimately at the end of the day, they go to overtime, which, side note, I don't see too many Chiefs fans complaining about the overtime rules today when they spent the last 3.5 years bitching about it because they lost a game to the Patriots, which is, again, ironic, but not unexpected. It's just, to me, it was dumb coaching. That game last night was all about the Chargers and not about the Chiefs, because I came out of that game, watching the Chiefs, and I'm like, good God, they better hope they have Chris Jones or they're going to get absolutely trampled by the Patriots. Because Chris Jones, we talk about how important he is. He may be the most dangerous. Dangerous might be the wrong word because, again, defensive players, there's certain levels of danger. That's generally reserved for offensive players, but there may not be a more disruptive player on that Chiefs team than Chris Jones. Without Chris Jones, that team is an absolute shell of itself defensively, and going up against a team like the Patriots who runs the ball very, very well, that's a bad recipe. On top of that, again, short of a couple moments, I think, ironically, I think Patrick Mahomes' best play of the entire game was his scramble run. That was the time he was the most decisive and actually made the right play. I mean, the irony of, and I texted you this after the 2-point conversion, it pretty much epitomized what Patrick Mahomes is as a player. As soon as that ball is snapped, he's staring directly at his first read that is wide open. For whatever reason, he decides not to throw it. And then he looks across the field to Tyreek Hill. Again, moving across the field wide open. You should see that and throw it. Now, granted, he finally decided to scramble and run around and made a play to convert the play, but that's where we're at. He's a quarterback that isn't good at making decisions. I mean, it's simple. We've watched it. We've watched it play out. And again, outside of like a couple nice plays there at the end, he was largely mediocre and outright bad at certain points in the game. And like, again, when you sit here and tell me, oh, you have to score touchdowns against the Chiefs. No, you don't. You need to score points. Just like any team, you need to score points to win games. And if you're willingly giving up points, you don't deserve to win. a game, let alone the division or any sort of playoff success. So
I would like to ask the Chargers defenders if they would have preferred to be defending and trying to hold on to a 23-13 lead or a 14-13 lead, because that's what it would have been if they kicked 3 field goals. Now 2 were chip shots. The other one would have been a 46-yard field goal. So even if he doesn't make that, we're talking 20-13. So you're up 7 points. Like, I think it's easier to defend Patrick Mahomes and the offense up 7 or
because they're going to force things, and we know what happens when he forces things.
1.
Like, that interception he threw,
turnover.
that might have been his second worst throw of the game, as crazy as it sounds, because guess what? He almost threw the exact same interception 2 series prior to that, and it was a far worse play because he literally stared exactly right at the defender. And I'm sitting here scratching my head like, Chargers, stop getting in front of your way. Stop tripping over your own feet. It's just it's maddening if I were a Chargers fan.
I also haven't heard anybody bring this up. The Chargers defense completely went off the rails once Derwin James went out.
Yeah.
He's a spectacular player. I mean, he's one of the best defensive players in the sport. They're not a real good defense. They showed absolutely no discipline on their rushes late in that game last night. You can't let Patrick Mahomes get out of the pocket and run for 32 yards. You just can't let that happen. Joey Bosa was trying to be a hero. He turned into a goat. But once Derwin James went out of that game, all of a sudden Travis Kelce became unguardable. And then, could you take worse angles on Travis Kelce?
Jesus,
could you be worse at tackling in those last 2 series? I mean, Travis Kelce looked like he was game last night. And look, you see the numbers. He was 22 of 26 when throwing to Kelce or Hill. He was 9 of 21 throwing to everyone else. Well, if you see that, why not double both Hill and Kelce and force him to throw to someone else, right? I mean, he's obviously much more comfortable throwing to those 2 guys who are both great players. Like, let someone else beat you, or at least double one of them, and maybe you shade someone to help with Travis Kelce, who still is his security blanket, as he should be. Any great quarterback likes to have a tight end that's that good. That does make things a lot easier for you. So again, the defense, and Brandon Staley's supposed to be a defensive coach, so I don't know where that slipped through the cracks. That's a game. Again, if you're a Chargers fan, and there aren't many of them out there, you'd be appalled because you deserve to win that game last night if you just done what you were supposed to do instead of trying to do it in style or be smarter than everybody. And I've said this a million times. I like analytics, but I can't be married to them because analytics are 2-dimensional. They're not 3-dimensional, and the sport of football is played in a 3-dimensional world.
And look, I mean, a lot of people justify, justify going for it because it's like, you want the points or, this, that, the other, or they'll say, oh, well, if he had, we haven't mentioned this yet, but we all hope that, tight end, obviously, it's a very scary situation last night. I mean, that I look, Fox, or I think it was Fox who was technically running the broadcast, did not have a good night. There were, Joe Buck there were some of the things that he said that the whole, it might be cold in LA thing. That's, I mean, come on, man. Like, you're going to sit here and I love this when they're like, oh, we don't like to speculate about injury and then immediately speculate about an injury that was clearly very serious. And it's best just to, let it go. But anyways, it took a minute for Fox to realize that he was literally knocked out cold. And I was surprised that they just didn't mention it. And, but anyways, the
head on the turf, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that was pretty evident.
Exactly.
And I'm half blind over here, and I saw that.
Well, and like the point, what I was getting at was that, people will defend the analytics because, oh, well, he dropped the ball, or if it was the no. You're just, again, you don't need to defend, like, the result of the play doesn't matter. It doesn't change whether it was a good or bad decision. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a bad decision regardless because you are literally giving up. And 2 chip shot field goals, again, I'm assuming they kicked the field goal. Of course, anything can happen. But when you decide not to kick the field goal, that's when you open yourself up to all those possibilities and outcomes and situations. So no, it wasn't, oh, well, if you just would have held on to it. No, you gave up points. It's as simple as that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You willingly gave up points in a game in which, again, coming into that, outside of playing against the Raiders, the Chiefs were a bad offense. Like 18 points a game, that's bad. Especially in this day and age. So again, it was bad for the Chargers. They didn't deserve to win that game, and I'm disappointed. Obviously, like I had rooting interest against the Chiefs because being a Patriot fan, you want to see the Chiefs obviously lose because they're somewhat competing with each other. But like the one good thing I came out of all that was Patriots are an awful matchup for the Chiefs. Like I mentioned before, I mean, even if you have Chris Jones, having Chris Jones they don't have Chris Jones against the Patriots, and there's no indication that he's going to be out more than just this week because of the COVID stuff. But they don't have Chris Jones against the Patriots. There's not a chance in the world they win that game. I think it's an uphill battle for them with Chris Jones because that Patriots defense, all the things that you said that the Chargers did wrong, the Patriots aren't going to do that wrong. They're going to sit there. They're going to force Mahomes to win the game. And you know what's going to happen? He's going to throw an interception to J.C. Jackson. He's probably going to throw one to Kyle Van Noy. This is if they play each other, which again won't come into the playoffs this season. So if it even comes to fruition at that point, but to me, that's the one positive I got out of this as a somewhat neutral observer, John, and very objective observer, of course. I have no rooting interest
absolutely.
Whatsoever.
That's what I think of. But yeah, I mean, especially on defense with the Chargers, I wouldn't bet my life on it, but I'd be pretty confident in wagering on the fact that the Patriots are going to have lane integrity when rushing Patrick Mahomes. They'll force him to stay in the pocket and beat you from the pocket, which he's more comfortable being outside the pocket, not only throwing from outside the pocket, but his ability to run. And I don't think that Belichick will allow him to do that. And Belichick's not going to have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce just running free out there, like with no one covering them. Look, those are two great players. They're going to make plays. You can't shut them both down, but at least force Mahomes' hand to go to someone else who's not as comfortable, nor should he be. I mean, those two guys are. You make a case Kelce is the best tight end in football. I mean, when Gronkowski's healthy and right, he's still probably the best.
It all depends on what you define as. There's two different definitions of a tight end.
As a weapon, I would say Kelce is better because he's more explosive at this point, even though he's older. He just doesn't have the injury history of Gronkowski.
He's a better Jimmy Graham, which I mean, again, Jimmy Graham, because Kelce, again, I mean, he's certainly not as physical, and he's not going to sit there and take on your best defensive lineman and and block like he's a left tackle. Like that's what Gronk does, and that's why, as an actual definition of a tight end, Gronk is on another level than Travis Kelce. But that's not to say that Travis Kelce isn't dangerous in his own right because of what he does and how he obviously is out on the field, obviously making plays offensively. But again, like last night, I mean, watching that what was that 63-yard like basically shuttle pass that Kelce, like I saw a reenactment on a graphic or whatever, and it literally looked like Pac-Man because there's just ghosts chasing him. Like when I was a kid playing hockey, first starting out, there was no structure. It was basically a group of 10 kids all chasing the puck. That's what it was yesterday, and it was awful. And then, I mean, like he was literally staring 3 Chargers defenders in the face when he caught the ball, and they just, I don't know what they were thinking.
He scores if it's flag football.
Yeah,
because no one even came close. You can't even say they didn't tackle well because they weren't in position to tackle. They didn't even put themselves in that position, and it was that bad. I think obviously when Derwin James went out, that defense totally collapsed. That's how important he is to that team, and hopefully he's not out for multiple weeks or even the entire season. We'll see. He's that good a defender because I don't think Travis Kelce would be just working the middle of the field without any pushback if Derwin James is on the field. So that was a big part of it. But yeah, you could have had this thing sewn up a lot earlier. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with a 2-score lead, and then that's kind of what every team tries to get is a 2-score lead, especially with the Chargers last night because they were able to run the football.
Yeah.
So if they've got a 9 or a 12-point lead,
200 yards.
Well, yeah, they were averaging 5 yards a carry. So if you're able to do that, then if you're up 9 or 12 or whatever, you in theory should be able to run your 4-minute offense, which puts Mahomes in a much more difficult situation. Then you go kick another field goal, and next thing you know, you're up 15 with 3 minutes left, and now it's garbage time. And pulls that one off, you tip your cap and say that you're awesome. But to keep them always within 1 score, was an incredible failure by Brandon Staley and the Chargers.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going around for the Chargers, man. I just, like I said, I we see it every week. There's this blind allegiance to analytics that says, oh, you go for it because the success rate, of previous games with involving different teams. I don't care. About that. That has no bearing on what's happening right now in the situation that's happening right now. So, yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, Chargers blew it.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat it. This was a game that they should have won. And I'm not talking about, a bunch of happenstance. Like, no, you again, when you directly just decide to leave points on the board by no action of the other team. Like, this was just simply a decision made by the Chargers to risk the points multiple times. And it's like, look, after a while, you sit there and realize, like, by the end of it, it's like people, like, I loved when they went for it for like the fourth time, and the analytics folks are like, see, this is why you go for it, because you want to make it a 8-point game. No, you have to go for it now because you're so stupid enough to give up points early in the game that now it's forcing your hand. And the crazy thing about it is the analytics folks will use that as a reason to prove why. And this is what drives me nuts about it, because there is no discourse. It's either analytics are right and there's nothing you can say that is wrong, or you know what I mean? It's just it drives me nuts. John.
Yeah, and I see it in baseball too. You go to extra innings and they put a runner on second base. And let's say the next guy walks. So you got first and second with no outs. And you're the home team at this point. So you only need one run to score because you kept the other team off the scorecard in the top of the 10th inning. Like, no one wants to bunt in that situation, which is classic baseball. Bunt the guy over. Right now, again, you got to be effective with your bunt. Now you got second and third, one out. You're in prime position to score a run and win the game. But because of analytics, people push back and go, no, that's not the right play. And then the next guy strikes out, and then there's a ground ball double play, and now you go into the 11th inning. Like this, again, I like analytics. I like to look at it after the fact, though. To me, I've always considered analytics the same as if you go into a really good restaurant and have a scrumptious meal, and then the chef comes out and tells you how he made the meal. I really don't care how he made the meal.
Yeah.
I just know it tasted awesome. Like that's what analytics is. It like breaks down, and then it kind of almost takes the joy out of the game a little bit. It's like so-and-so hit a home run, but you know what? The exit velocity was only 104 miles per hour. The home run in the previous inning was 120 miles per hour. Like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like, it's too much information. My head's going to explode. I want to enjoy the game. And again, every situation is different.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just unnecessarily parsing of a
right.
You don't have to, like, again, you don't have to break it down. Excuse me. Oh man, that's second day in a row that I've kind of belched
You're
a little
burping.
bit. Yeah, I'm turning into Howard Stern a little bit.
You're getting old. You're getting old when you start burping and doing other. If sounds are coming out of different, orifices, then you're just old. It's okay.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I've never. I won't say. Oh no! You know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to pull a LaShawn.
Okay, so you haven't.
I'm not going to pull LaShawn McCoy and say anything about a recent movie that I saw yesterday that really made me happy.
Okay.
Yeah, because if anyone remembers LaShawn McCoy, he so recklessly ruined Avengers Endgame for so many people out there by just commenting about some of the things that happened.
A thumbs up for Spider-Man?
Oh, absolutely. Let's just put it this way. Either Monday or Tuesday, I'll be doing the show with a Spider-Man mask on. So let's.
Okay, that's good. That's.
I enjoy.
Do I have to wear a mask? I mean,
it might be better for the audience.
Well, that would be interesting. I mean, do I just go with my favorite movie, which is The God Part 2? So I'll just put a mask on and look like Robert De Niro as the young Don.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think
that'll work. Well, actually,
that work.
That works out pretty good. So I'll work on that this weekend. I don't think there's any young Don Corleone masks out there. I think it's kind of a dated reference, but we'll do the best we can.
See, this is why I'm good. See, my good buddy Joel. I know he wants to see the movie. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to give any hints. I'm not going to say, because again, it ruins the experience. And anyone that can't, look, it's hard for me because again, I was one of the first people to see it. 3:30 yesterday. It's a I gotta hold it in for at least a week or so before I say anything, and like I can't just comment or just I gotta be careful about what I do on social media, and that's fine. I'm willing to make that sacrifice because I know how much it can ruin for something. But if you're on the fence, absolutely recommend seeing it if you're a fan of the genre. It was a lot of fun.
Now, if I haven't seen them all, can I go see this?
No, because
right.
you need to. I mean, the issue, not the issue. I wouldn't say it's the issue, but unlike previous superhero or Spider-Man movies in the past, this movie has a lot of connection to the entire Marvel universe. Now, again, you can.
Okay.
So there's a maybe not, at the forefront, but there's a lot of background information that you would just not know about based on kind of just over the course of several movies. So it's really tough to see. But I think you may be okay seeing the previous two versions of this movie, like the Tom Holland, the first two that he did as Spider-Man. You might be able to get enough information out of it. Like I said, it's a great movie. If you're going to see it, you're going to enjoy it. And that's all I'm going to say, because again, I don't want to ruin it for everyone. And again, I'm getting excited about it myself, and I'm at the point where I'm like, I'm definitely going to go see it. I'm one of those people. I'm going to go see it again. I saw Batman, The Dark Knight 4 times in movie theaters when it was out back in the day. So
I would do that. Now, I am very, very dark. You saw $1 Million Baby, or is that one movie that you haven't seen yet? I'm going to force you to. Okay.
Yeah, that was the one. For some reason, I just haven't seen it yet. There's no reason for it. It's just one of those. It just happens.
It to me is the best film of this century. And when I say that, people go, "What are you talking about?" Well, the century's in year 22.
Yeah.
So it may be surpassed. I'm sure it will be surpassed at some point. And also, in my opinion, says that we haven't been making great films as much as we did, say, in the 70s or the 60s.
A lot of stuff is retread.
It really is. I mean, the best decade, the best 15-year stretch for movies, I would say, is 1966 to 1980. In fact, I think it was William Goldman who came up with a book that was like Dr. Strangelove to Raging Bull. Like, that was 1964 to 1980. Like, start there, finish there, and there's like just most of your incredible movies were made during that period. It's just a different time, obviously. But I'll go see a movie a dozen times if I like. Glengarry Glen Ross is one of my favorite non-great movies. And I think in 1992 when that came out, I think I was just in a weird period. Sometimes that has something to do with it. I was going like once a week to see it. And it was like, yeah. And I mean, but $1 Million Baby, which is one of the darkest, most difficult films to watch, I saw it probably 5 times at the theater. And people were like, "Are you insane?" Because most people saw that once and that was it. Because it was so so powerful. It's not like people, you don't go see Schindler's List a half a dozen times because it's crazily entertaining.
Unless you're looking to go make
film.
out during a movie, you could always go see that. I was going to say, what about The English Patient? Did you see The English Patient more than once? Elaine,
I know.
You have to see The English Patient.
I'm with Elaine on that. I did not like that film, and I love Ray Fiennes. He's one of my favorite actors, and he was fine.
I'm a bigger fan of Larry Fine.
Larry Fiennes.
Yeah.
I saw Ray Fiennes on stage doing Hamlet in New York back in 1995. He's a great actor. I love him, but The English Patient to me was just like I was ready to shoot myself by 45 minutes into it.
I was going to say, if you look over my right shoulder, if you're staring at the screen, you'll see my Tom Brady jersey. But if you look very closely over my left shoulder, you'll see the first of several Three Stooges box sets that I have up on my wall. So,
you're a Stooges guy. Okay, I'm more of a Marx Brothers guy. I thought I think Groucho Marx is,
I have no complaints.
A unicorn, but I could enjoy both.
Yeah.
I sound like the fence sitter, like you have to pick one or the other. Can I enjoy both? They kind of bring different stuff.
No, you can't.
Well, same thing.
That's the thing. It's like it's like wrestling fans picking one thing or the other. It's like you can enjoy both and be maybe you're a fan of one over the other, but you can still enjoy both. It's like, yeah, you can still be a Patriots fan and still appreciate what Tom Brady did for your franchise for 20 years. And this is how I'm going to bring it back to football, because somehow of all the things that I had racing through my head today, we somehow got off on a little movie talk, which is great because it's centered me again, John. It centered me again and got me thinking about my Spider-Man mask that's coming in the mail.
What I try to do. That's what I try to do as your sidekick here.
Well, I appreciate it. So we do have picks to make, because it is Friday, which generally means that, hey, we like to put our picks out there, and that's what we're going to do here. So as I bring up the schedule, as I do every week that we do this, we'll have to just stare at my face for a little bit longer. Your nice picture has gone off the air, but I will bring up your name up on the screen so everyone knows you are still here. That's right, on the phone, John Sapichetti. Schedule starting Saturday, December 18th with back-to-back games. You get the B squad, Cleveland Browns versus the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Patriots versus the Colts. So yeah, let's start right there. We got Vegas at Cleveland, 4:30 tomorrow. The start of these Saturday games that we're going to see usually around the holiday season in December. We get a couple Saturday night games. Vegas heading to Cleveland. Look, Cleveland's in a tough spot right now. They're going to be very shorthanded. No Baker Mayfield, no Case Keenum. I got to take the Raiders here. I just can't. It's a tough situation, and credit to Cleveland if they pull it off, but it's going to be very tough for them even at home. So give me the Raiders.
Yeah, it is going to be. I mean, the Raiders have their quarterback, and the Browns are bringing in a quarterback that wasn't even on the roster. So I mean, that's pretty difficult to pull off. The Raiders should win this game because they're coming with their team, in Cleveland feels like it has half their team out. Like, is Bernie Kosar going to come out of retirement and quarterback the Browns? I mean, that might be an option. He and Baker Mayfield do those commercials together, so why not? But yeah, the Raiders should win this game just based on that they have an NFL roster and the Browns really don't.
Next, the Patriots heading to Indianapolis, and what's being billed as a pretty good matchup, but to me, I look at it as a pretty easy path for a Patriots victory. Contain Jonathan Taylor, easier said than done, but I do trust this Patriots defense to do that. And I certainly believe that they can force Carson Wentz into mistakes. So I think this is going to be a big, big win for the Patriots. And again, just further kind of cements them as being back and at the top of the AFC. So give me the Patriots on the road.
I'm going to take the Colts at home. And you look at the AFC, the Patriots have won 7 in a row. The Chiefs have won 7 in a row. During that time, Indianapolis is 6-2, and their 2 losses came in overtime to Tennessee when Tennessee was healthy, and to Tampa Bay. So they're playing really good football. I think I'm going to go with the Colts because I think Jonathan Taylor will be able to run against this defense, which had trouble against the Titans a few weeks ago without frontline running backs. I'll take the Colts in this matchup.
All right, moving to Sunday, the first of our Sunday matchups. We have Buffalo hosting Carolina, and despite what you saw yesterday, no, Cam Newton did not play for the Chiefs. He will be playing for Carolina tomorrow or on Sunday. I do think Buffalo wins this game because I'm not, I've kind of really cooled on Carolina as a team. Again, there's questions. I think Buffalo is capable of getting off their 2-game slide here and winning this one. So give me the Bills.
Seems like when the Bills win, they win big, and then they lose close games. I think looks like a blowout to me for Buffalo.
Next, we have the Cardinals heading to Detroit. Give me the Cardinals because they're playing Detroit. that's the extent of my analysis.
That's a good one. Yeah, 10-3 against 11-1.
Yeah.
I think Detroit keeps this close though. Arizona probably is still spinning its head from that loss against the Rams on Monday night. The Cardinals will find a way to win. They're obviously a better team. Although DeAndre Hopkins is out, their best offensive weapon. I like the Cardinals, but I think the Lions keep this really close. Would I be shocked if they pulled this upset off? Not necessarily. I could see this happening, but I'll still pick the Cardinals.
I'd be pretty shocked. Miami hosting the Jets. Miami probably the hottest team no one's talking about. Obviously, you're getting overshadowed by, the Patriots and Colts, and rightfully so. But they're also on a nice winning streak themselves, and they get to play the Jets. So give me Miami at home in this one.
Yeah, I mean Zach Taylor, what's his name?
Wilson.
Zach Wilson.
I already forgot his name. Are you concerned? Are you at this
about
point?
him?
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm enamored with these guys that have great arms.
Yeah.
But there's got to be more than just great arms. Like Herbert has a great arm, but he's got a lot of other things going for him. We know Rodgers has a great arm, but he's got a lot of things going for him. Yeah. The Jets are they can't do. So yeah, the Dolphins should win this game and stay in playoff contention, which is pretty surprising when they got off to a 1-7 start, but they've won 5 in a row. Give credit to them.
Next, we have the Giants hosting the Cowboys, NFC East battle. I like the Cowboys. Again, I'm not quite sure how healthy the Giants are going to be, but regardless, Dallas is just a better team, and even on the road, I think they're going to pick this victory up and move to, what was it, 9-5 or whatever it is. So give me the Cowboys.
Yeah, they're 9-4 right now. They could pretty much wrap up the division with a win here, and if Washington loses, that they actually would clinch the division. That's how bad that division is. Dallas has not been playing well, but I think Dak will put up a big performance against the Giants on Sunday.
All right, you got Philadelphia hosting that Washington team, who, again, their final 4 games all come against the NFC East. So if they're going to make some headway, they got to win this game. I do like Washington. I think, because I still can't figure out what this Eagles team is. I really don't. I mean, at times they look really good. At times they look really bad. I don't know. So I'll give me Washington, who, again, may not have as high a ceiling as Philadelphia, but I feel like they're far more consistent and efficient across the board. So give me the football team.
Yeah, I'll take the Eagles. I'll just be a little bit different. We have to disagree on some of these games. Yeah, this is a weird game, isn't it?
Yeah, I have no feel for it right now. Maybe an Eagles fan, or a Washington fan could chime in a little bit, but I honestly, I just don't have a good feel for it.
Yeah, no. This is one game I kind of just glanced at and said not real interested in, but I'll pick the Eagles at home.
Next, Pittsburgh in a fairly intriguing game if you think about it. Pittsburgh hosting the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, the Titans are trying to get themselves kind of back into that mix. I think we believe they're kind of hovering in a tier below the Chiefs and Patriots by themselves because, again, I got to figure that if they get Derrick Henry back, they're going to be a far better team. But I don't know exactly how good they are. I really don't. They're a very, very confusing team. I do think they win this game. I think they're going to play well enough to take advantage because Ben Roethlisberger's got about 20% good football in him every game, but that 20% good football could be enough to win the game for Pittsburgh because of how well their defense plays and sometimes Ben turns back the clock and turns into the player that he was in 2005, 2006, way back when. So I'll take Tennessee, though, on the road. I just think they're a better team, and they're desperate to stay in the race for the top seed. So
I'm going to take the Steelers. They've got a little extra prep time here. Tennessee played on Sunday, so they've got the usual week to prepare, whereas Pittsburgh played on a Thursday night, so I think they'll have a little bit of extra time. Real embarrassing first half against the Vikings. Played much better in the second half, so I'll go with the Steelers in a game that pretty much looks like a toss-up.
Houston taking on Jacksonville in the first post-Urban Meyer game. I'll take Houston because, well, as bad as they are, Jacksonville's worse. And, as good as I think the move was to move on from Urban Meyer, I don't think it's going to make any immediate difference on the football field. Give me Houston.
I'll go with Jacksonville. Houston won the first matchup earlier in the year, and I'm looking at these two teams, arguably the two worst teams in football. I'm like, is either team going to sweep the 2-game series in a given year? I don't think so. So I'll take Jacksonville.
All right, next we have Denver hosting Cincinnati. This was kind of a tough one, too, because, as much as I like Cincinnati, I do like Denver at home. And I think that's ultimately where I'm going to land with this one. I think it might be a toss-up, but give me Denver because they're at home.
I'll take Cincinnati. Cincinnati's been a maddening team. I mean, they're so close to being a legit contender. They've lost a couple games in overtime. They've had some games where they look tremendous against Pittsburgh and Baltimore, and then they laid an egg against Cleveland. So they're up and down. They're very young. I like Joe Burrow a lot, but he's turning the ball over too much. I think next year you're going to see the real Joe Burrow a year after that knee injury where, he'll be more comfortable and they can shore up that offensive line. But on this particular day, I'll go with Cincinnati in this game because these are just two teams that are constantly impossible to predict what they're going to happen. So I'll go with the visiting Bengals in a slight upset.
Next, we have the 49ers hosting the Atlanta Falcons. Give me the 49ers. They're playing some pretty good football. They're at home. They're in the race for the NFC West, and certainly in the playoff mix in the NFC. The Falcons, albeit not eliminated yet, really aren't. So, yeah, give me the 49ers.
I think I'm secretly rooting for every team to be 7-7 after this week because I'm going to pick the Falcons, who are 6-7 at 7-6 San Francisco. Again, another couple of teams that some weeks look really good and some weeks look like they're checked out. Although you're right, San Francisco's playing pretty good football right now, and I also think they're a tough matchup for a lot of the top teams in the NFC. Like, I don't think anybody wants to face them, in the wild card round because they could pull off an upset. But I'm going to go with the Falcons in what would be a fairly major upset because the point spread is around 8 points. I'll go with the Atlanta Falcons, the Dirty Birds.
All right. Speaking of Dirty Birds, the Seahawks are heading to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. The Rams obviously had a big win this past week, and whether you think that increases their stock come playoff time is a different question. I do think that they are going to win this game because I think they are a better team than Seattle right now, and being at home. And like I said, I always think of the Rams as kind of like that regular season juggernaut. They're a team that can impress you to no end in the regular season. But outside of that, I'd be curious to see how it goes. So this week, though, give me the Rams over the Seahawks.
Yeah, the Rams are a lot like Dallas, right? When they look good, man, they look really good. But can they win games where they're not playing their best football? And that's kind of what separates the really top teams from the next tier. And I put the Rams on that second tier below Green Bay, Tampa, Patriots, Kansas City. Those four teams can kind of find a way to win, whereas the Rams, they have to have kind of everything clicking for them to win, but they should be able to get the job done against Seattle this Sunday.
Next, we have Baltimore hosting your Green Bay Packers. I don't, as far as I know, Lamar Jackson is still questionable.
He's questionable, yeah.
Okay. Look, I'm going to take the Packers. I would probably take him with Lamar Jackson anyways because, he hasn't really played great at all this season. But certainly I'd give the Ravens a little bit more chance to win this game had Lamar Jackson been under center because, again, just because I'm down on a quarterback doesn't mean that every quarterback in this league is capable of having a big game. That's what people don't understand. They're all professional players. So I don't care who you are. Everyone's going to make a throw or a great throw or have a great drive or have a great moment or great game here and there. It's about sustainability. So would I be surprised if Lamar Jackson comes in and all has a great game that gets everyone talking and beats Green Bay? No. Do I expect it? Absolutely not. So regardless of if he's in there or not, I'm going to take the Packers.
I like to look at how a team plays against the division that they only play once every 4 years. And this year it's the NFC North against the AFC North. And Baltimore's 3-0 against the NFC North. But their wins are like by a razor-thin margin over the likes of Chicago, Detroit, Minnesota. Obviously, Green Bay is the class of the NFC North. They're playing really good football right now. I think they're going to go in and handle Baltimore fairly easily on Sunday. At least I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so. Speaking of hoping so, I hope this is the first time that the Buccaneers actually take care of business against the Saints in the regular season because they are Sunday Night Football against the Saints, who, again, I think at this point, I think it was clear the Saints Super Bowl was that first matchup against the Bucs because they've obviously been just in an absolute tailspin since. Injuries to quarterbacks and at various positions are one thing, but I think it's just kind of caught up to them that they're just kind of a lack of talent. At a certain point, you just don't have enough to compete. And look, I think at the end of the day, this game will likely clinch the MVP for Tom Brady because if he gets through this game, if he has a solid game against the Saints, the one team that's really kind of given him trouble since he's been in Tampa Bay, then there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to roll to a fourth MVP. And again, you win this game if you're the Bucs, you clinch the division with 3 weeks left to go. This is a pretty darn good accomplishment. So give me the Bucs in this one on the big stage.
Yeah, because after this, he has Carolina twice and the Jets, so he should be able to put up outstanding numbers against those teams. I like the Buccaneers. I think handily here, too, because we know how Brady is. I mean, he looks and sees New Orleans has been somewhat of a problem since he's been in Tampa Bay. Right? There's 3-1 against him, but, of course, Brady does win the NFC Championship game, which is the most important one of the 4 previous matchups, and I think he's just going to just lay it on against the depleted New Orleans team. I would expect this to be a blowout. I mean, look at last Sunday against Buffalo. It looked like a blowout, and then they kind of took their foot off the gas, and Buffalo did find themselves in the second half, and that's why you had an overtime game. But I expect Brady to put up huge numbers, and Tampa Bay wins. And my biggest question is, why are they making a film about Sean Payton? and Kevin James is playing him. I'm like, are we that desperate that we're making a film about Sean Payton?
It's Netflix. It's
fall on the heels of Kurt Warner.
It's a number. It's a numbers game, my friend. It's kind of like we had a kid that, you know, back in the day working at the wing shop that we worked at, who would kind of hit on every waitress that worked there, and we called them buckshot, because if you know what a buckshot is, you kind of just shoot and it just sprays everywhere, and eventually you're gonna hit something. Well, that's kind of what we called him there, and I think that's what Netflix, the strategy Netflix takes with their movie/television shows. They're just gonna produce it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, oh well, just more content, and eventually someone's gonna watch it. So but yeah,
Sean Payton. Like, I think Andy Reid would be a better candidate, right? I mean,
Andy Reid didn't get suspended for an entire season and had to be away from the NFL for running a bounty scandal.
Well, that kind of makes it more interesting, though, right? I mean, the bad boys are more interesting than the good guys. Like,
sure.
I mean, one of my three favorite films of all time is Raging Bull. Robert De Niro's Jake LaMotta. Like, obviously, Sugar Ray Leonard was the better fighter than Jake LaMotta, but not as interesting a character. So, you know, you don't make as good a movie about Sugar Ray Robinson, a superior fighter to Jake LaMotta. I get that. Look, I was watching, I didn't watch the Kurt Warner movie. I'm like, the best quarterback in NFL history to make a movie about would be Art Schlichter. Like, you know his history, right? The former Ohio State quarterback who went to just read about it. It's like the most, he makes Leonardo DiCaprio in Catch Me If You Can look like a priest. So that would be a fascinating movie. Like, make that way, man. Because actually, little secret, as a high schooler, that was my favorite football player, Art Schlichter at Ohio State. That was my guy. I like rooting for quarterbacks that are a little off the wall. Except the guy I have now is really good. Yeah, I do like crazy people at quarterback, from Art Schlichter, who, you know, spent time in jail, to Aaron Rodgers, who doesn't speak to his family. But at least the guy now is really good, though.
Spencer Rattler actually gets to the NFL. Is he going to be your guy? Because he's a little
probably. Yeah,
himself,
probably love him. Yeah, I know exactly. I mean, I'm you know, the heir apparent is Justin Herbert. I think I've got the right selection there. I just, you know, maybe they can get a coach that doesn't go for it on every fourth freaking down.
And we come back full circle, folks. Remember, analytics aren't gospel. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you.